Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I hope y'all are having a great evening. Welcome to The Women Are Out of Control. Hold on, let me make sure I'm getting comfortable. Y'all, I hope y'all are having a week that is safe, supported, and there's a lot going on in the world right now. So I won't even pretend that there's not. But I hope that you are remaining centered and grounded and connected to your body and connected to your own mind and your own thoughts and all of everything that's happening right now. So, for those of you who may be new here or who do not know who I am Yaya Smith. I am the founder of Feminine Success. I am a multi talented, multi hyphenate creative for the last 10 or so years. Probably, what is it now? Goodness. It's been 11 years, actually. It's 2026. For the last 11 years, I have grown this space and this company to support women in owning their feminine power and leveraging it to our greatest benefit. Um, in relationships, in your mindset, in your work life, in your home life. And so I haven't been coaching for probably the last 2 years or so, giving myself a break after a decade of just nonstop momming and all of the things. And in that time, I have done a lot of the work around deconstructing a lot of my religious upbringing, a lot of um, the religious practices and mindsets that I took on after my upbringing when I took a little bit of a side quest into the Hebrew Israelite movement for a while. Um, and so I took some time to just turn into myself and reconnect with myself. And in that time ended up unpacking a lot of things because if you've ever gone through your shadow work, dark night of the soul, anything of the sort, um, you know that when things get quiet and you actually embrace the quiet, a lot of things come up, a lot of illusions come up. And we're now living in a time where illusions are being dissolved completely, left and right. All of the illusions that we have bought into, from what it means to be a woman, to what it means to be a man, to what it means to be godly, to what it means to be successful, what it means to be a leader. All of those things are crumbling before our eyes, and we're being invited collectively to decide, what does that actually look like going forward? What is success? What is femininity? What is masculinity? What is family life? What is humanity? And so in that time, um, I moved away from a lot of the things that I had been taught and started to ask myself, what do I actually know to be true? What do I actually believe? What has actually been proven to me, been shown to me, and one plus one equals two every time. And in looking at that, I also had to look at what are the things that I've been believing up until now that are just not true. No matter how you slice it, the things that we've had to force ourselves to believe, to hold fast to, because the evidence is not there, but the indoctrination is. So, leadership is one of those things. So, this last week, I have been spending some time on threads, really diving into the importance of self sufficiency, the importance of sustainability, the importance of knowing how to build community, knowing how to affect change in a real way, knowing how to survive and thrive in the times that we are experiencing and the transition that we are experiencing. For those who do read the Bible, we are experiencing the ending of one world and the beginning of another world. And we are also in the design phase of what that looks like. So, in having that conversation, I brought up how when we were a part of a Hebrew Israelite group, which I recognize as a cult, and I have shared my story here. I won't say ad nauseum, but I've shared my story here a lot. So you can go back into my videos and see that if that's something that you're interested in. But in that conversation, I was saying how we congregated with a group here. We were congregants online and in person for about 8 years with that group. And one of the things that my husband and I have always done is that we are gardeners. We believe in putting a seed in the soil, sunshine, water, food, and letting that thing grow. And that is true investment, that is true multiplication that we can see, we can implement daily. The earth gives us everything that we need, and we are believers in that. And so when we were congregating with this group, there were all these men there. There were all these able bodied men and women in this space. And there was a lot of conversation about um, feeding these large families, about disconnecting from, the society and be in this world and not of this world, and all of the things that you're usually taught in these types of spaces. And so because we had gardens, we were like, well, this is perfect. There's a group here we've been a part of. We've been investing time, energy, effort into this group for all of these years. So now we have this space. We can help in this way. We can help build in this way, and they can also help us, so we can have something cooperative here. So I tried to share the beginnings of that idea with some of the people there. In this group, only the men lead. So try to share, after class, while conversations are going on about, what are the moves that we can make? What are the things that we can see happen? And because I am a woman, my contribution was immediately handed off to a brother. If you need to share something, then you need to either tell your husband or give it to one of the brothers, so that they can then give it to leadership. In the moment, I was kind of confused because there was so much intense conversation going on around feeding families, and things like selling water on the corner and selling Gatorades at the stoplight to make money. And I am not only am I a systems thinker, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I don't believe in doing things inefficiently at all. If we are trying to feed families, selling waters on the corner ain't gonna get it. I know, because I've been feeding a family for a long time now. We have a family of 6. And so I'm also of the belief that when we are working as a group, everyone's ideas and contributions matter, and everyone's ideas and contributions should be taken into account at the very least to be heard. Because if you won't listen to them, you can't lead them. And in this space, there is this idea that women should not talk unless they're talking to their husband or to other women. And I won't say it goes that far, but it's pretty much understood. Like, of course, folks will say, "Oh, that's not the case," and all of this, but it's pretty much understood that there shouldn't be too much interaction going on between women and men, even if it's on a business level, unless you're going through like all of these channels. So, yeah, because this isn't a football team fundraiser. Selling waters makes no sense. And that's obviously, anybody with some sense would say this doesn't make sense. We're trying to feed hundreds of people, we're trying to build infrastructure. The funding that is needed in order to do that is not Gatorades on the corner funding. So I presented the idea and I was immediately shut down. Well, I shared that story on Threads, and I shared it from a perspective of being mindful of who you are allowing yourself to be led by, because sometimes people are not looking to lead or guide, they're looking to control. If someone is leading you, you should be going somewhere. And what I was experiencing at that point, I think we had been there for about 6 years or 7 years. It was right before we left that this happened. Nothing had changed except there were more schools. There were more schools. There was better equipment. There was all of these things, but we were learning the same things. And anyone who's been to any church that has this kind of mindset of we're going to pretend progress, but we're not going to actually make progress, knows that they will tell you when you start to say, hey, we've been learning the same thing for this amount of time, it's time for us to be evolving. They'll say, oh, milk before the meat, milk before the meat. So at this point, we had been there about 6 years, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom and listening to moms feeding their babies and talking amongst each other, and they've been here the same amount of time and they're still on welfare, they're still trying to figure it out month to month. Like, all of these things are happening, but they've been sitting here this whole time. Why is nobody growing? Why isn't anyone, the organization is growing, but the individuals within the organization were not growing? And so I don't like to be stagnant. So I started to try to contribute as subtly as I could, and in a way that I felt was innocuous, and it just wasn't accepted. So I shared that on Threads, and a young woman, and no shade to the young woman, because at the end of the day, I've been where she is. I have known her for quite some time now. I have always felt like she is a dope creative, and she's on her own soul's journey. But she took it upon herself to get really upset and, like, first of all, you're wicked as hell, and why would you bring this here instead of bringing it to leadership, and all of those things. First of all, that's your leadership, that's not my leadership. Second, when I tried to bring to leadership, they didn't want to hear it. And then the next thing that brought up for me is, how many of us have investigated why we think we need a leader? Why do we think we need a leader? And this goes beyond just religious spaces. This, if we look at society right now, what has having leaders gotten us outside of control freaks and power hungry, malignant narcissists? What has the desire for a leader gotten us? When do we start to investigate, why am I giving my power and my responsibility to lead my own journey away to someone who can't be going where I'm going, because we're all on different paths in this life? Why am I giving all of this power away? And if they are my leader, where are they leading me? You see, why I had to walk away from that space, and people will say, "Oh, you walked away from the church, you walked away from Christ, you walked away from God." But I have gotten closer to God outside of all of that than I have ever been in my life. And I'm not here to convince anybody to walk away from anything that grounds you, that centers you, and that is the right practice for you and where you are on your journey. But for myself, what I recognize is, I don't like to be led in a circle. I don't like to be led in a circle, and we're not going anywhere, and we're still driving around this same circle of this one is the devil, and this one is holding us back, and then we sinned, and that's why we're in this mess. And okay, what we doing to get out of it? What are we doing next? Where are we going? Now that we know that, now that we following all the rules and checking all the boxes, what's next? And that's my mindset, because I believe when Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within you, my job is to unlock that within myself and bring it out, not sit up under some man telling me how sinful I am, telling me how wrong I am because I'm a woman and I need the hush and all this other bullshit. Because at the end of the day, every single one of those men lean on and are supported by women. Whether the women speak up or not, they are holding the weight of a grown ass man. So for me, I had to investigate this leadership thing, because is that even true? Is it true that I need to take my grievances to a leader to have them solved? Or am I fully capable of creating solutions within myself and bringing that out of myself and expressing the kingdom of heaven that is within me? Let me see. I don't want to get far behind on y'all on y'all's comments. Wait a second. I was about to say that ain't your leadership. Exactly. That's the facts of the matter there. I think in beginning phases, we need guidance, just like the Most High gives us parents. But every child must at one point leave the nest and do for self. That's absolutely the case. And it's also one of the reasons that I say I don't regret any of the spaces that I've walked through, because I look at that as classes that I've taken in life. But why would I sit in the same class? We don't sit in primary school our whole lives. We don't sit in high school our whole lives. You don't sit in college your whole life. Eventually, you graduate. Some people take longer to graduate, and that's okay. Some people learn quicker and they're ready to move on earlier, and that's okay. We don't need to be led in that, in knowing when our soul and our spirit is ready to move on. That's something that is very individual. So, like I said, I hadn't investigated why I felt I needed a leader. And when I really sat with that, I thought about, how often as women I hear us say things like, I'm tired of being the one that's leading everything. I'm tired of being the strong one. I'm just ready to not have to think. I'm just ready to be able to submit to somebody. And when you are in a space where you do not have boundaries around your giving, around your effort, around your labor, and you are not self-led in that way. When you're not self-led, you're not able to say no. You're led by other people's expectations. You're led by other people's requirements and desires of you. When you're not trusting of yourself, you don't even trust your own leadership. So realizing that when you're tired and you're exhausted, it's usually because there's no boundary. Anyone can ask you for anything at any time. Anyone can require anything from you, and instead of you saying, well, does this align with who I am, you just shape shift. You just decide, okay, I'm gonna cut these parts off to fit into this box that they want me to be in. And at the end of the day, a lot of women look for submission and a lot of women look for leadership. And I'm not here to talk about what men are doing, because I'm not a man and I don't know. But what we don't think about when we're thinking about submission, when we're thinking about authority and those kinds of things, is that sub means under. To submit, you are coming under someone else's authority, someone else's mission, someone else's decisions. With that, we don't consider the weight of being underneath something. I don't care how you slice it, dice it, and all of these other things. If you are under it, you are carrying it. The foundation carries the house. It is underneath the house. If you are carrying something on your back and you're underneath the weight of whatever that is, And so it's so important to consider when someone is asking you to submit, is that a weight that you want to carry? Is that a weight that you are prepared to carry? And what are you already carrying of your own that you will have to sacrifice in order to carry their weight? And I'm so grateful for my husband because at the end of the day, I was raised in a household that was very, we didn't call ourselves fundamentalist Christians back then. We called ourselves a bunch of other things, but that had very fundamentalist Christian principles. And I went to Christian schools and I went to Christian churches and lived in a Christian household where submission was the expectation of the women and girls. My husband was raised Catholic and was raised by a single mother who wasn't submitting to nobody. And so he does never had the idea in his mind that a woman's job is to submit to him. And he always had the understanding that a man is a weight if that's the position that you want your woman in. And he's never wanted to be a weight on me. So because of that, in a way, it's made me have to re-examine what are these ideals that I've been carrying and are they even mine? Now, does that mean I carry everything that's mine and he carries everything that's his and he doesn't, support me at all? No, absolutely not. My husband tries to take as much weight off of me as possible in order that I'm able to create, in order for me to be able to raise our children, in order for me to be able to rest and relax the way that I need to. And in his way, that is how he chooses to lead himself so that I can lead myself. So a lot of times we're not thinking about when we are placing ourselves underneath something that we are taking on a weight to carry. And I personally thought that that was the answer. I thought that that was God's order. I thought that that was the divine order, was for the man to be the top and the woman to be underneath and the children to be underneath that. And that is not true. That was created by IBLP, which is not a church. If you have not watched the documentary Shiny Happy People, it breaks that all the way down, the origin of that whole umbrella picture that so many of us have seen and so many churches and schools and all of that follow. Breaks it all the way down and goes back to the man who created it, where he got it from. And he wasn't even a pastor, nor did he attend anybody's church. He just saw a power move. He saw a way in to market to churches, and he took it, essentially. So, like I said, for me, I had to unpack what is it that is causing me to want to put down my own power to make decisions, my own power to carry out my mission that I was sent here for, and give that over to someone else. And it was tough, to be honest, about the fact that I had been lied to, that I had bought into the lie, that I had bought into the lie that women are weaker, that I had bought into the lie that, yes, we can accomplish a lot, but we need a man by our side to do it. And I'm not here to say that to not have a man. I have a wonderful husband, but I am also here to say that you do not need any of that. What you need, you came here with. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and your job is to bring that out. So, what I realized personally is that not only is leadership a lie, but it blinds us from what we're actually in need of in these times. So many of us, whether you're talking about the church or you're talking about society as a whole, are waiting for someone else to take the lead. We are watching the world fall apart. We are watching these men tear this mother down from the seams, the rafters. They tearing it all down. And we are seeing where children are being abused and harmed by these men who call themselves leaders. And as women, we are the leaders. We are the ones who are supposed to protect our babies. And we're just letting it happen because we're waiting for somebody else to do the job. We're waiting for a man to handle these men. They are not going to tear down a power structure that gives them power. What we don't need any more submission. We don't need any more submission. We have submitted ourselves to the point that our children have become prey. What we need is permission. We need to give ourselves permission. We need to give ourselves permission to rest and not be the labor mules of this society, of our households. And that goes for all women. You need to give yourself permission to not think for him. Let him mess up. I'm trying not to drop any F-bombs, but I'm getting there. Let him mess up. Let him fall on his face. If he is a leader, he can pick himself up. We need to give ourselves permission to stop saving every damn body. Let people save themselves. Save yourself. And that's something that I had to do for sure. And that's something that I'm still doing. That's why I'm not coaching right now, because I needed to give myself permission to stop transforming everybody else and doing all of this deep work with everyone else and just be with me for a while. If it all falls apart, it all falls apart. That's if it falls apart, it wasn't real in the first place. Let it fall apart. That's what I personally needed. Okay. But we need to also give ourselves permission to realign. Some of us have aligned ourselves with things that were our parents' lessons to learn. Some of us are in the religions that we're in. We're in the career fields that we're in. We're in the spaces that we're in because that's what our parents came here to do. And because they didn't do it or they didn't complete it, we took up that mantle. Or because they stayed there in that space and it became tradition, we took on the tradition. And you're not even in your proper path. So we have to give ourselves permission to realign with the path that we're supposed to be on, with the path that your spirit been told you were supposed to be on. We have to give ourselves permission to renegotiate these contracts and these beliefs and these ideas that we've taken on. The idea that men are the only leaders. Is the evidence not telling you? Here's my thing, ladies. If we say girls mature faster, okay, we could stop there. We could really stop there. We could really stop there, but we're not going to stop there. If we say girls mature faster, if we say women communicate better, if we know that companies with a woman CEO have a 35% higher ROI than other companies. Okay. If we can look at the fact that I saw a man say today, do women not understand now why you shouldn't raise your voice at a man? And in the comments, it was all kinds of women saying, yeah, because they're going to kill us and they're going to hurt us and they're going to do all these things to us. Women get yelled at all day. We get yelled at by men. We get yelled at by women. We get yelled at by employees at the grocery store. We get yelled at by our toddlers sometimes and our babies. We ain't out here killing nobody. Not nobody, but I'm saying. We are clearly more emotionally regulated. Even if we're more emotional, we are also more emotionally intelligent. So if we can look at all of this and still turn around and say, but the men are supposed to be leading, we really have to investigate, where does that idea come from? Where does that come from? Where did we get the idea that the people who commit 90% of the crimes in the world, violent crimes at that, are the ones who should be leading the world, and that should lead us to anywhere other than war and violence? Who sold us that idea? And why are we still buying it? Because there's responsibility in the lies that you buy too. Not just, oh, they shouldn't be saying this, they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be telling us this, and we shouldn't be buying it. We shouldn't be believing it. We shouldn't be letting it happen. Period. Every man got to eat. I ain't going to go too deep into that because, not trying to get banned out here. But yes, this is the facts of the matter. Where does the lie of leadership come from? This idea and desire that we as women need to be led. And who's benefiting from the fact that you keep buying it? Maybe it's not that we need more leadership, maybe we need more stewardship. Maybe we don't need people who feel like they're gifted at leading other people. We need folks who are gifted at managing resources, managing communities, facilitating connection. And from my experience, that's been women. So Akila says every good leader is supposed to teach people how to fish so we aren't dependent forever. I think that you can teach people how to fish without being a leader. You can be a guide on the journey for folks. You can be an elder. You can be a storyteller and teach people how to fish. I think that this idea of leadership really needs to be investigated because most of the people who are out here quote unquote leading are not leading themselves. And if we look at where the world is right now, people aren't going anywhere. Humans are not evolving. Plants are evolving faster than humans. And we are the ones with consciousness. Not to say that plants are not conscious, but plants are evolving faster than humans. Leadership is not getting us anywhere. There's a reason why when you read the Bible, people were not given leaders until they begged for them. And when they begged for them, the supreme being in the Bible said, "You are going to see how wicked these leaders are. You are going to see why I didn't give you a king." And we have been seeing ever since. Um Kyle, hi, said, "Hey, sister, hey, chat. We need this discussion, sis. So many women suffering in them camps." That's absolutely the case. And you know what? Sometimes, and I don't say this to victim blame or anything like that. Sometimes suffering is something that our soul needs to wake us the fuck up. Sometimes it's the suffering that wakes you up and makes you say, enough is enough. And that's the truth of the matter. When a man is throwing scriptures at you and telling you that he's supposed to love you like Christ loved the church, and in the next minute he's knocking you between the washer and dryer, at some point your brain is going to say these two things do not belong. At some point the hope is you will value yourself enough to not be talked to crazy, to not be treated crazy, and to get the hell up out of there. And sometimes the catalyst for that, for you taking ownership of yourself, is you giving ownership of yourself to someone who does not know how to properly care for you, properly maintain you, properly support you, so that you can remember who you are. Sometimes that's what it is, and I'm grateful to be here to be a voice in the wilderness, and it's sometimes a voice in the dark for women who just have not heard someone say, God does not want you treated like that. God does not want you out here following nobody. Having guides on your journey is a different thing than having a leader. Because how is the leader getting where they supposed to go and you getting where you supposed to go and you following them? Then they leading you. Everybody off. Honestly. Akila says, and when we talk like this, they try to belittle us by calling us feminists, knowing we're not. SMH. I don't care what they call me at this point. I don't care. Call me a feminist. Yep, I'm that too. Call me a witch. Call me a womanist. Call me whatever, a whore of Babylon. I don't give a damn. I know too much of these men's behind closed doors for me to even care. For me to even care. I know way too much about the men calling themselves leaders. I really don't care. I really don't care. I bet you're not gonna say it in front of my husband. I bet you that. I bet you're not gonna say it in front of me either. They might say it online. Because why? Because they can't lead themselves out of the comments of content that they don't agree with. They can't lead themselves into the path of what they actually enjoy, what they actually agree with, and something that resonates with them. So they sit around and troll and all these other things. That further lets me know that you're not a leader. And, and. So I listen, when I tell you the thing about the healing journey, it will bring you back to yourself. And I am who I've always been. I am who I have always been. My parents will tell you, my husband will tell you, my kids will tell you. Listen, I'm going to say it in love, but I'm going to say it. And that just is what it is. And my thing too is people who fall to the level of name calling, fall to the level of insulting rather than sharing and proving their point aren't even worthy of the conversation. And I'm definitely not going to be offended by it because your lack of intelligence is, what is that to me? But the block button, you've been here, Akila, long enough to know that I'm gonna block you. I'm just gonna block you. That's just what's gonna happen. Like, I'm not gonna fight with you. I'm gonna block you and hope that something that I have said leads you down a path of deeper understanding, of researching for yourself, of studying to show yourself approved. A workman able to rightly divide the word of truth. Okay? Of truth. Are you able to discern what is true and what is not? And it is not difficult to discern what's true and what's not. If you have to force it on me, listen, if the truth were that women are weaker and that they are supposed to be submissive, no one would have to force a woman to submit. It would come naturally to each and every one of us. If the truth was that Black people are 3/5 of a person and they're not as smart, they tried to create a whole science around Black people's brains being smaller and all these other shenanigans. If that were true, they wouldn't need to oppress you, baby. It's not true. So, are you able to rightly divide the word of truth? That's my question. And if you are being led by someone else's discernment, you won't. If you're being led by someone else's decisions, by someone else's desires, by what someone else thinks you should be doing, you won't. You won't know what's true for you. You won't know what your spirit is guiding you to do because you're going to have to get approval and validate it through someone else's opinion. It's time to get back to self-leadership. It's time to get back to stewarding the resources that were given to you and stewarding the kingdom of heaven that is within you trying to come out. And not needing anybody else's validation on that. Because as soon as you need their validation, you have given away your power, the power of God that God placed within you. You are ignoring the God in you. As I was doing these notes for this today, my spirit was just like on fire. And the thought came to me, what I realize is happening inside of a lot of churches and groups and camps and even corporate cultures and environments is that we are building better relationships with rules than we are building with our godliness, than we are building with the divine. You have a relationship with the rules and the people who are enforcing the rules and the people who watching and making sure your skirt's long enough than you have with the God within you. That's not okay. That's not okay, because that's the relationship that you're going to have to answer for, is the relationship that you nurtured and cultivated with the God within you that was trying to come out and express itself in this world. Because everything that we're seeing in this world, yes, it is a product of power hungry men and people and all of that. But how did they get there? They got there because we gave away our power. And we have every right and resource available to us to take it back. So I hope that this was supportive for y'all tonight. I don't want to keep y'all too long. It's already been 40 minutes. But I definitely wanted to have this conversation. Whoo, y'all. The energy around the women are out of control offline has been so full of action, and all kinds of things are happening. We've had court cases, we've had all kinds of things going on offline. So know that while it's taken a while to build in the online space, these women who you are seeing come on and share their stories, we are doing the real work, from me being on the side of an advocate to me being on the side of a consultant advisor to them actually getting out there and making these things happen. So I do have some good conversations coming up. I'm working with a couple of women who have walked away from various organizations, various high control relationships, to come on and share their stories. And y'all feel free to, in the comments, let me know what you would like to hear more about, what conversations you'd like to see happen in this space, because this is really a conversation series for every woman, for the women who are ready to own their power, to move courageously through these times and show up like God sent you. Let's see. No lie about the suffering, waking people up. I'm behind a little bit. Yes, yes, yes. And that's so important to realize, is that we can't keep saving people from the choices that they're making and the environments that many times their choices are leading them into, because there's a lesson there for them. And the lesson that we're saving them from, we're just delaying the suffering. So no, it's not about, hoping people suffer or just letting people suffer. You can hold space, you can witness, you can be there for them, but allow people to go through and learn what they need to learn. I know a bunch of people that are still in these spaces, and at the end of the day, that may be what their soul came here to learn. They may have come here to walk through that until their last day. Mine didn't come here for that, and that's okay. And what I do ask is that we have respect for each other's journeys, because that's a part of self-ownership and self-leadership as well, is being able to honor other people on their journey. um Jasmine says, I definitely resonate with what you mean about doing what your spirit is called to do. I've broken free from some of the mold, i.e., going my own path versus what my family has wanted career wise. And that's important. My mom wanted me to be an accountant, child, and I hate math. I mean, I'm gonna count my money and I'm great with geometry, but other than that, What? And my mom is amazing. She is like a math whiz. Numbers just, and one of my children is also like, two of my children actually, you can spit out anything and they going, but I'm just not that way. And I didn't even want to be that way. But a lot of times our parents didn't take the path that their soul was leading them on, and they can look at their children as an opportunity to correct that. When no, I'm gonna need you to go back to school and finish what you came here to do. That ain't for me to do. Let's see. I still definitely feel there's so much unlearning to do, but also, what does refilling that info and relearning feel like? Oh, absolutely. And for me, one of the reasons I think a lot of people don't take on the work of unpacking, deconstructing, reconstructing is because they feel like they have spent so much time doing the other thing. And that if they just, that's the problem with capitalism, that's the problem with the way that we've designed society, is like, if I just work harder, if I just do more, if I just buy more of the tools that I need to do this thing, then I can make it right. Misalignment is misalignment is misalignment, period. It doesn't matter how you dress it up. It doesn't matter who validates it for you. When you're out of alignment, you are out of alignment. And you cannot fool God, no matter how pretty you make it. Being the God within you, you're not going to fool yourself. You're not going to fool your spirit. You're not going to fool your higher self, no matter how pretty you make it. No matter how sweet and soft and nice and obedient you are, you're not fooling the one who sent you, the one who is here through you. So Kyle says, I speak to these people behind the scenes. I try not to force my awakening on people, especially married women. But who is hard to watch sometimes. It is. It is. And that is one of the reasons why I limit my output to women who have awakened. Um, it's I know me, and so I try to have my conversations with women who I know are on the journey back to themselves, are on the journey of connecting with their higher self, and being obedient to their spirit and their intuition and the voice within, and how they soothe themselves with scripture is sick. We might come on and do a talk about that one day. Because and I'll say this, scripture is soothing. Scripture is very soothing. I don't take any of that away from scripture. Honestly, I still use the scripture. I still am soothed by the scripture. And I also know how to eat the meat and spit out the bones. I also know that that book is the most tampered with book on the face of the earth. I also know that how it was formed and why it is so soothing, because they got the best writers of their time to put those words together. That's what great writers do. That's what great writers do. So they're supposed to make you feel something. You're supposed to be able to get something new every time you go back to the book. You can do that with Toni Morrison. You can do that with Alice Walker. You can do that with there's so many writers. You can definitely do that with Bell Hooks, Octavia Butler, Audre Lorde. Like, so I believe that all artistic expression is inspired by the divine. And so, yes, the book is soothing and the scriptures are soothing, and they can also be very oppressive and suppressive. And it's important for you to know what's for you. Let's see. Yes, I remember feeling bitter that I was boxed in so long. Like, what would I have accomplished knowing accepting this sooner? And that's a part of what stops women from deconstructing. That also stops women from leaving jobs that they know that they should no longer be at, from leaving relationships they should no longer be in, is the time that they've lost, the energy that they've lost, the investment that they've put into that thing. But sometimes you've planted a seed here to reap a harvest there. And if you don't leave here to get there, you never get your harvest. You're still waiting for your harvest to come from here. So, sister, you always go live at the right time. I'm so grateful I'm able to support y'all. I'm so glad. Can't trust everything from that book. People got to be real. And that's the fact of the matter. And that was another thing, I felt like if y'all are telling me the man is the devil, that all of these things happened, and other, but you're also saying that this book that they have formulated and come together and pieced together and taken apart and pulled stories from here and there and everywhere, and that this is also the unerring word of God. Make it make sense. So I still use it with caution, yes, because it has indeed been tampered with, beyond tampered with. A lot of it was plagiarized. We ain't gonna get that deep tonight, but that's just the facts. These are the facts. This is not, I didn't pull this out of thin air and put it on the coffee table. This is just the facts. And it is tough to tell the truth and to own the truth and be honest about things because we feel duped. It's like MAGA. They it's so hard for them to let go of the illusion that was sold to them, of the fantasy and the dream that was sold to them, because they don't want to believe that they were fooled. Because what does it say about me if I'm able to be fooled? What does it say about me if I wasn't able to see through the lies? And they make that their identity. We have to disconnect from all of that, from the ego, from the identity, and everything that we have built up to get to who we really are. And to get to a place where we are safe in that, to get to a place where we're secure in that, even when the world isn't safe. So, like I said, I'm glad to be back. I always like coming on and having conversations with y'all and just hearing where y'all are, sharing where I am. And I plan to do a lot more of it. So, with that, I'm going to say good night, y'all. Continue to have your conversations in the comments. Share this video with a woman that you know would appreciate this message. And I pray that those who with ears to hear find this message and are fed and nourished by what has been shared here. I hope that this has inspired you to step into personal leadership for yourself, to honor the leaders around you, to honor the people around you, but to trust yourself to lead your journey to your destiny. I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all have an amazing night. Peace.